Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thank you for watching us tonight. John Edwards and his extreme team. That's the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. First, a viewer warning. What I am about to report is very vile, and some people will be upset, so you might want to click off and come back in 3 minutes. As you may know, former Senator John Edwards, a Democratic nominee for Vice President in 04, is running for president this time around. Like many politicians, Edwards employs bloggers who put forth his point of view on the net. Edwards is currently paying Amanda Marcotte and Melissa McEwen, two very far-left individuals, to work the internet for him. And Edwards knows that these two women have attacked Christianity in very irresponsible ways. For example, and here it comes, ladies and gentlemen, on June 14, 2006, Miss Marcotte wrote, quote, "What if Mary had taken birth control after the Lord filled her with his hot, white, sticky Holy Spirit?" Unquote. And on February 21, 2006, Ms. McEwen attacked religious conservatives, saying, quote, "What don't you lousy mother effers understand about keeping your noses out of our britches, our beds, and our families?" Unquote. On January 21st, Marcotte convicted the Duke lacrosse players on her blog, writing, quote, "Can a few white boys sexually assault a black woman anymore without people getting all wound up about it?" And there are plenty of other examples of this kind of immature and hateful stuff from these two women. As the Catholic League has pointed out, no serious political candidate would employ people who directed such hatred at blacks, Jews, Hispanics, or even Muslims. But for John Edwards, Christian haters deserve a place on his staff. When confronted with the facts about the women, Edwards said he disagreed with their statements, but would continue employing them. My question is, why? I wanted to ask the senator that very simple question, but his press secretary, Andrea Pearce, said his staff would not address the issue. They wouldn't come to the phone. There's no wiggle room here. Senator Edwards wants to be president, yet sends a message that Christian hating does not disqualify you from working for his administration. That is simply stunning. There's no question that internet assassins like Marcotte and McEwen are all over the place these days, but Talking Points has never seen people this extreme hired by a major political candidate. This is all about judgment or lack thereof. Finally, I have nothing against John Edwards. He seems intelligent and sincere. But this isn't a difficult issue. These women are Christian haters, and it's hard to believe that Edwards continues to stand by them. But it's true, and you should know it. And that's a memo. Now for the top story tonight, reaction to the Edwards story. Joining us from Washington, Michelle Malkin, and here in the studio, Kirsten Powers. Both ladies are Fox News analysts. Because you're a Democrat, Kirsten, begin with you. Is there any explanation on this earth for Edwards' behavior?
Well, I think that you could probably come up with some explanations. None of them would be very good. You know, most people that I know, and I certainly feel like these women should have been fired, or they shouldn't have been hired in the first place, frankly. There were some things that didn't make it in there, probably for time purposes, such as referring to Christianity as a misogynist mythology.
Yeah, I mean, we could go,
Christo-fascist.
I could spend the whole hour on these people.
That I think,
right.
I think, you know, the fair criticism of this is replaced it with Jews, and these girls would be gone. There's no question about it. So, you know, my only guess is that they didn't want to upset the blogosphere.
It didn't want to upset the blogosphere.
It was leaked that they were going to be fired, and then suddenly they were sort of unfired. And during
Who
that
are
period,
these people?
They're bloggers. They're liberal bloggers, and I will say that they're, you know, free. I believe in freedom of speech, and they're free to say whatever they want.
Really, even about this stuff about Mary and the Lord.
I find it offensive.
Who wouldn't? Unless you were a Christian hater,
well,
who wouldn't?
They say that it was satirical and it's supposed to be funny. I don't find it funny, but the point is, when you have a presidential campaign, who you hire, especially people in sort of public positions, is supposed to reflect who you are.
Right.
And so it's very important in every campaign, certainly that I've ever worked on, you're always asked this question or some version of it. Is there anything that you've written or done or said that would reflect badly on the candidate? And I think that that's an important thing.
Apparently Edwards doesn't really bother him.
He says that he was offended by it, and he takes.
Do you believe him? If he was offended by it, he would have taken action.
He takes them at their word that they said they didn't mean to.
They didn't mean to?
Faith.
Come on, I got 50 of them they didn't mean to.
I'm just reporting what they said.
All right, it's bold, but I know it's bold. It's bold. All right, let me get to Michelle. I think Michelle's going to be a little crueler than you on this issue. But here's the question, Michelle. How can you handle Iran if you can't handle this, John Edwards? How could you handle Iran if you can't handle this?
That is the bottom line, Bill. And you asked the question, why did he let these bloggers stay on? And I think the ultimate answer is cowardice. He was afraid, he was intimidated by the so-called net roots, which I refer to as the nut roots, the far left side of the blogosphere. And it's not just the entire blogosphere that he's afraid of. Let's be clear about that. It's a specific niche on the far left that basically threatened him if he decided to fire these two people. Oh, it's on the far left sites. When it wasn't clear whether or not these bloggers were staying on, there were all sorts of threats on the far left websites about how they were going to unleash these vicious rants if it turned out that the bloggers
So let me get this straight, because you have your own website. I don't go on these things at all. So what happened was when Edwards was deciding whether or not to keep these people employed in his campaign.
Yes.
Far left website said, if you fire them, then we are going to turn our guns against you, John Edwards.
That's pretty much right. And you can go look at the last week on a lot of these sites. There's a site called mydd.com where they try to rally around these two equivalent of the internet juvenile delinquents. That's what these women are. And as you say, I have a site. Actually, I have two websites. I've been a part of the blogosphere since June 2004 and have been a blog consumer since 2000, after the 9/11 attacks. And I can tell you that these women's reputations were well known.
Yes. It's
totally bogus on the Edwards campaign's part to argue that, oh, it's too hard to try and find every single post that these women write. Just go look at their websites. Look at the blog categories that are filled with filthy language. It's not just that they are anti-Christian. It's not just that they are bigoted against Catholics. Almost every single one of their posts is filled with unhinged diatribes, conspiratorial language, Bush hatred. These are the people who are representing the campaign. And let me emphasize that these people are not just some low-level staffers. Every Democratic campaign has to pander to the net roots. And so the Edwards campaign made this calculated decision that they were going to try and buy blog credibility by hiring the worst sorts of left-wing bloggers. And what did they think? That these people weren't going to be exposed? That now they want to blame the right-wing side of the blogosphere?
Of course. I'm sure that we'll be attacked tomorrow, as they always do. I'm going to give Kirsten the last word on this. This is stunning to me. I think this is the end of Edwards' campaign. I think this is it. He's through. Am I wrong?
It's going to be a major problem for him. It's something that's going to come up again. And I think an even bigger problem is for the Democratic Party, which has been trying to win over religious voters. And what this does is it sort of reminds some people who think the Democratic Party doesn't like religious people.
I don't think they'll assign it to the Democratic Party. This is a foolish thing by him. It's John Edwards. There's nobody else.
Yeah, but because it feeds into something that people already think, it makes it worse. And so I think that for him, it will probably come up in interviews. He's going to have to answer questions, and you don't want to be on the defense all the time.
No, I've never seen. This is probably the worst mistake I've ever seen a campaign make. This is so bad. Ladies, thanks very much. We appreciate it.